Hi, this is Chris from Copper Island. I just see a lot of disturbing trends out there. I'm an old guy. I'll be 72 years old. Uh, Raised by that greatest generation, and it seems to me that a lot of things started going wrong in this country when that greatest generation, the World War II and the Depression era people, started to retire and die off. One of the disturbing trends I see is starter homes at $200,000. I want to point out we paid 8 years ago, my wife and I, $62,500 for this uh, house we live in now up in Copper Harbor. I want to show you a picture of the yard. It's at least two lots and possibly more, with some woods, not much. But the woods belong to the utility company, so they're pretty much like ours. Nobody can build a house out here. We just had a tree that fell down in the windstorm. These woods basically will probably pretty much in perpetuity be woods. It has something to do with easements. You'll see there's a utility pole up there, and also with the sewer district. So it seems to me that we don't have to worry about somebody building a housing project next to us. So let me just give you a little tour. And I want to do this in segments because I have a very short attention span, and I don't like sitting through hour videos. So I'm going to try to keep them at no more than 15 minutes. These are the woods that this lot here next to us is owned by the water utility. It's got a big drain running down the middle. Now, excuse me, you will see that we have a container here, and that container is being parked they're expanding at the hospital, the emergency room at the local hospital. Now, I'm within walking distance. We're actually a block away of the hospital, so if I need to get to the emergency room, it would make more sense to walk there or crawl there than wait for an ambulance. But so we're pretty assured that things aren't going to change around here too much in terms of our property. I just wanted to show you they can't build a house on this lot because it has a sewer halfway through it. And then there's another sewer a few feet away. Over here, manhole cover, another manhole cover, and then there is another sewer and another manhole cover. So it's virtually impossible. It seems virtually impossible that anyone would come here and buy this, even if they could, if it didn't belong to the public utility, and try to build a house on it. Oh, and the hospital, I think you can see the hospital down the road. It's probably about 20 houses down the road, and they're working on an expansion project, and we'll show you as we walk down here. There's another sewer. So why am I boring you with the details of sewers? Well, I think this property for years is dedicated to underground water transference to the larger sewer system. Now, we don't live in, this is not in a town. This is in a place called Calumet Township. And so we don't have to pay any city taxes. And the house I'm going to show you with the mortgage exemption is about probably around $1,500 a year in taxes, which I think is very expensive, but compared to what I see other people are paying for taxes, it's quite reasonable. Less than $100 a month for property taxes in this day and age, I think would be considered reasonable. So now we come down here and we're walking to the road. That's the street on which we live. And you'll see there's another sewer cover. And then a sewer in the middle of the street. And as we proceed, here's a picture with the two tractors of our house in the yard. The yard's got a pickup truck in there. And you'll see there's another sewer in the easement in front of our garage. Now, this garage, it's really not a garage, it's probably a pole barn. It's a 2.5 car, I believe, pole barn. And here's the sewer we're talking about, which pretty much keeps us safe from any nearby development. This is an old miner's cabin, a 3-bedroom miner's cabin. And the lady who lived here her whole life, her mother died and had some money, had a business, I believe. And when she inherited the money, we paid $62,500 for this property. And I really believe she spent that, at least that much or more, in landscaping, in siding, new roofs. The roofs are all new. Well, I would say probably less than 10 years. I think the pole barn is less than 10 years old. And I have the sidewalk, which needs to be repaired here from me beating on it with the winter, breaking the ice, and just disabling the bricks. But it's got updated electric, new deck, windows, new storm doors, new storm windows, updated storm windows, another new deck. And up here, the weather is so severe that I leave the Christmas nativity scene up all year long, because it's sort of, we just add more lights at Christmas time to draw people's attention to it. It really gets cold here quick, and it's hard for an old man like me to go out and decorate anymore. All new roofs. Well, new, at least probably not much older than 10 years old. Talked about the windows. Here's an old window that wasn't replaced for the porch. Siding. But every year when I'm plowing snow, I end up sliding down the hill here on ice and end up knocking the siding off. It's like the third time in 8 years that I've knocked the siding off on the edge. There's really not much a guy can do about it, because the tractor is on compacted ice and it just takes off all by itself. Now, we talked about the yard. This is our yard behind that fence. Our yard is along the tree line. There's a neighbor next door, pretty close. That's his garage. But the way it's designed, you never see the guy because he doesn't use the garage too much, and it serves as a buffer. And honestly, there are times when you feel like you're the only guy that lives in this neighborhood when you got people, I don't know, 20 feet away. Luckily, I got a good neighbor and never gives us any problems. Here we're talking about the storm door. And of course, I could be living in a $500,000 or $2 million mansion and I would still turn it into hillbilly haven. You know, I got this tractor habit and fetish of these older tractors. And I got all kinds of tractors. It's a hobby. I work on tractors, you know. It keeps me from going crazy to have a good hobby. But I think we got a hell of a good deal for $62,500. I think between, God knows how much this pole barn would cost, but I think in the roofs, what, $30,000 for the roofs? At least back then, $30,000 for the pole barn, at least. Deck's probably another 10 grand. Siding, God knows what, that's expensive. So I think the former owner spent well over probably $70,000 or $80,000, I estimated. When we looked at the place, you know, the real estate lady mentioned, you know, there are more improvements in this property. And then she had the inside remodel too, and that'll be the subject of another video, God willing. But anyway, she probably spent $70,000 or $80,000 in the last 10 or 12 years on upgrades and remodeling. So why am I bothering you with all these details? There is affordable housing out here in this country. It depends if you're willing to move. Obviously, you can't live in a house that's 700 miles away. But there are houses here you can buy for $3,000. Back tax houses. At one time, this area had 125 at the height of the copper age here. 125,000 people within walking distance. Now we have 2,200. So you'll see a lot of abandoned structures that they built for the miners. You had about, I think at the height, around 16,000 people worked in the mines. They had 16,000 employees. And more structures than people, still a lot of abandoned houses here. A lot of affordable property. Now, building materials, you know, you buy a house for $3,000 and you think, oh, I got a house. Well, it depends on, I guess, how flexible and innovative you are. Yeah, you got a house, but you're going to have to maybe cut it, maybe not. Put your drywall in there. Roofs are very expensive, you know. So you might be talking about a $3,000 house over a period of time with sweat equity, and if you know how to fix stuff or you're willing to learn, you can probably within 5 to 8 years have a decent house for, I don't know, depending on how handy you are, anywhere from $50,000 to $80,000 invested. And obviously, if you can work from home, and there are good opportunities here. I know we talked to that kid. He's making around $6,000 a week. He's grossing in less than a year doing roofs and construction, and he's really done well for himself. He's a real swell guy. He's a hardworking guy. He's honest. He doesn't rip people off. I think he has he's not cheap, but nobody's cheap out there anyway. I think his prices are competitive. So the thing that bothers me is, the United States was always a land of hope. And I think one of the things I realized as a young guy was the common denominator of wealth is real estate. There are people that get wealthy without real estate, but not many. I mean, you can even look at guys like Trump and, these, what do they do? What do people do when they make a lot of money? The Wall Street guys, the smart money, the hedge fund managers, they invest some of it in the stock market, but a lot of them go to real estate. I've never bought a piece of real estate. I used to buy and sell houses that if I held them for at least 7 years, we didn't double our money. Now, is that pure profit? No. We spent money on tools and materials, but to make an investment of, I don't know, 70. I used to be able to buy houses for $35,000 in Indiana, and to stay there for, I don't know, 10, 15 years and end up selling them for anywhere from at least double, probably $80,000 for $35,000 house. And the last house we bought over there, she paid $99,000 for it, and it sold for $178,000. So if you're flexible, and if you're willing to work, and if you can move, and people, and if you can work at home on the computer, or if you're willing to learn a trade, plumbing, electrical, to me, it seems the real opportunity is in the muscular trades. Uh, the heavy, what do they call it? Heavy lifting. And if you're not afraid to, I don't know, be a carpet installer or a window installer or a plumber or an electrician, you can come to a place like this. We dispelled that myth that there's no money up here. There is money up here. And thank God for the university. We have a lot of money sometimes. These college professors are making, $250,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year. And so don't despair. These aren't fancy houses. They're old miners' cabins. But they to the right person with the right attitude. And I'm not saying, obviously the younger you are, the better it'd be. I don't see 80-year-old guys out here, although we have 80-year-old guys out here roofing their house. But it is possible. Okay, thanks a lot.